Sarah, you're the featured speaker for the dinner tomorrow night. What's your message?
Well, I think that my overall message is just one of learning to be honest with yourself about who you are. And I have a disability that I've had to learn to deal with throughout my life, and I do everything with my feet, and that's something that I had the tendency to try to hide as I was a small child and as I grew up, and especially through junior high and high school, where you just want to be like everybody else and you want to fit in, and that's a normal thing, but it's pretty impossible when you're doing things with the other half of your body from everybody else. But I came to a point, especially recently in my life, where I realized that that was a battle that I was not going to win, trying to be like everybody else. And when I learned to be honest with myself and honest with God and honest with the people around me about who I am and the struggles that I have, my life really opened up in front of me, and I found many new opportunities and many situations where I could be an encouragement to other people who were in situations like mine.
How did you get there? How did you get to the point where you were able to accept who you are?
Well, it happened in kind of a funny way. My son Ethan is about 8 months old, or he was about 8 months old at the time, and I was reading the news, and they were asking for people to upload videos of how their family deals with having a disability in the family. And this is not exactly what they were looking for, but I thought, well, my story is kind of interesting. Maybe somebody would get a kick out of seeing how I care for my son. I change his diapers with my feet, and I feed him with my feet. And so I set up a tripod, and I took video of us for about an hour and a half that morning, and my husband was at work, and nobody realized I was even doing it. So I took this video, and I downloaded it to my laptop, and I edited it and uploaded it to CNN. And this was kind of a big step for me, because even part of the video was I made a point to show my arms, which I just really don't like showing to people, and I described my disability and showed how I feed my son and I diaper him. And about 2 days later, we were headline news on CNN.com, and the responses that I started to get really are what changed me, because I realized that the world isn't exactly what I thought it was, and people aren't always thinking what I assume that they're thinking. And I realized that what I viewed as a negative thing and what I viewed as something that was holding me back was actually something that God wanted to use. And it was the one thing that he really wanted to use that I had been holding back this whole time. I wanted him to use these other things that seemed so much more fun. I wanted him to use my writing or the music that I did. You know, those seemed a lot more glamorous, but the thing that he wanted to use was the thing that I was so ashamed of. But when I let go of that and I was honest, that's when there came real freedom for me.
When you say that the world is not what you thought it was, and the response that you received was not what you would have thought it would be, what do you mean?
Well, I guess the more honest and vulnerable I've been about my struggles, the more I've received feedback that was not so much, I mean, I get feedback that says you're inspiring and you're encouraging and you can do it, and I do. That's kind of what I expected, but I got more, I feel you. You know, I'm there, and what you said was what I needed to hear, and not even necessarily from people who had disabilities, but the fact is that we all struggle with things, and we all want to hide things, and we don't want to let anybody see our struggles, and that's universal, whether you have a disability or not. And I realized that I'm not so different. And what people see when they hear my story is not my difference, but how similar we are in so many ways. And what I expected was that people would look at me and see how different I am and how neat it is the way that I do things and how unique I am. But really what people saw was how much the same we are.
Mm-hmm. The same in the sense that, just as you said, everybody's got something they've got to deal with, one thing or maybe many things they have to deal with. And the fact is you can deal with them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or be defeated by them.
Yeah, it's a choice. It's a daily, we all have things that we're dealing with every day, and the thing is that you've got to take the moment that's in front of you. And if you look at the big picture and say, Can a girl who can't use her arms raise a child? That's kind of a scary question, and, people might have doubted me, but if I say, I use my feet for everything, can I use my feet to change a diaper? Probably, and that's all I have to do right now. So if I look at it one little thing at a time, then that's much easier than trying to tackle the entire world.
You speak of other people doubting you. Did you ever doubt yourself?
I think I don't usually take the time to doubt myself. I've been doing things with my feet since I was about 2. So it's just as natural for me to use my feet as it is for you to use your hands. So, we all have doubts about ourselves. My doubts were more, like, how is this going to affect my freedom as a person? And, will this affect our marriage? And, the normal doubts that people have when they're having a child. When I was pregnant, I did hear from people who were questioning, how are you going to do this or how are you going to do that? And that sort of made me doubt myself a little bit, but I was already pregnant, so I thought, well, we're just going to have to deal with it. If I struggle, I struggle, but we're going to figure this out.
So what would you tell people who feel held back by whatever, whether it's a disability or maybe not even a disability, but something else in their life?
I'm going to be honest. I can't say that you can do anything you want to do, because we all have limitations. I can't do everything that I want to do, but I can tell you that you can live a fulfilled life. And if there's something that you need to do, you can find a way to do it. If there's something that you are not able to do, you can find a way to get around that. Because there are plenty of things that I can't do, but I can live a happy, fulfilled life without doing those things. So just because you can't do something doesn't mean you can't have joy in your life, and it doesn't mean you can't be a fulfilled, happy person. Mm-hmm. And so don't focus on what you can't do, but focus on what you can do.
I think that's a really important thing, what you just said, because I think we do hear messages about, live your dream, you can do anything. I've heard the president say that. If you believe it, you can do anything. But that's really not true, and it's not necessary.
No. Well, we're all human. You can't. Why would we need other people if we each could do everything? I wouldn't need a husband if I could do everything myself, but God created us as community creatures, and we need each other, and we need Him. And so He's made us so that we have to rely on each other, and we have to lean on each other. And my weaknesses are maybe a little more obvious than some of your weaknesses, but you have them, and you need the people around you, and that's okay, and that's good. That's a good and healthy thing, and it's okay to recognize that.
We're talking with Sarah Kovac and also with Joey Austin. And if you've got questions or comments for our two guests, give us a call. Our guests in this segment are Joey Austin and Sarah Kovac, and we've been hearing a lot from Sarah. Sarah has told us how she has adjusted to, is that the right word? Is adjusted to your?
I would say that, yeah.
Okay. But it's really encouraging to hear you talk about this in relation to everyone else, in the sense that we all have things that we could get hung up on about ourselves if we let that happen. And you have not let what you could get hung up on mess up your life, and it's really encouraging.
Yeah, well, I haven't let him mess me up too much.
Okay, that's good. That kind of honesty is a good thing to hear, too, because nobody's perfect.
Exactly. And I definitely went through a time in my life where I wanted to, blame everything that was going wrong in my life on that. If I was having trouble making friends or, especially social things, I wanted to, if I didn't have a boyfriend, I wanted to blame it all on my disability, when in reality, maybe I could have gotten a haircut and slapped a little makeup on. It's easy to blame all your problems on something you can't control, but I've had to grow up a little bit, and it's been good for me to realize that you can't go through life like that and end up healthy. So
You have also signed a deal to write a book.
Well, I have signed a contract with a literary agent, so we are working on the proposal for my autobiography, and we are working on getting a publisher for that also. So,
So, and this did not come out of the publicity that was generated by the CNN story.
no, I have a website that is sarahkovac.com. I have to plug that.
Sure.
And I have a blog there, and I entered a blog of mine into a contest, which won me a scholarship to a speaking conference in North Carolina, where I went, and I pitched a book proposal to an agent there, and she liked it and signed me on with her agency. So now I'm working with her, and we're really hoping to be able to publish my autobiography sometime in 2012.
Now, this will obviously have to be an autobiography that is sort of like volume one, because you're...
I know, that's what I've thought so many times, that I have to fight that feeling that it's like I'm not even 30. Who am I to be writing an autobiography? You know, have I even lived life that I can be writing about it? But I feel like, you know, if God hadn't given me a story to tell, then people wouldn't be so interested in hearing it, and I wouldn't be getting the responses that I'm getting if it wasn't supposed to be told. So I'll just write what I've got for now, and I think I've got enough to fill a book, and so, you know, then, you know, all those people that loved the first one then can go buy the second one.
Sure. Read your blog, and maybe, you know, every 10 years you come up with another volume or something. Sure. What would you tell somebody listening who is wondering, what can I do? How can I make my life better? How much of my life depends on what I think about my life, and how much of it depends on what other people think about my life?
Oh, goodness. Well, I think what you'd expect me to say is that it doesn't really matter what other people think about you, but I can't say that I would live that completely, because I do care what other people think about me. I try not to care too much, because especially now that I've gotten more attention, you hear so many positive and then you hear so many negative, and you just try to let the negative roll off your back. But I think you just have to know who you are. You have to have a firm grasp on who you are, and if somebody doesn't know the whole truth about that, then you have to be okay with that. And if you've got a solid foundation in who you are, and you know that God knows who you are, then that's really all you should worry about. But that's not always possible for human beings, because we all have our weaknesses. But surround yourself with people who uplift you, and who say positive things, and who encourage you, and people who don't bring you down all the time. And I think that's really important.